Hi, good afternoon, BFT, and welcome to our second Hangout installment for the year. Puff Puff and Away are about the phenomenon surrounding hashtags, the hashtag support the puff that went viral in the Bahamas and around the world. I am temporarily sitting in for our moderator, Rayne, who is on her way from the salon. So in the meantime, I'm going to introduce you to the rest of the panelists. So I'm Chandra, one of the admins for BFT. And joining us today are Sharma Tucker. So Sharma, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your hair, I guess, just to start.
Okay. Well, my name is, well, for Facebook purposes, Sharma. My name is Charisma. I've been natural for, well, my natural journey was kind of, I guess, rocky because I went natural, then I went back to perm in college because I couldn't handle it, and then I went natural again a few years ago, let's say 2.5 years ago, and I did another kind of big chop last year. So it's really been up and down with my hair, but I love it. I love cutting my hair too much, really. But yes, really, it's too much of a habit. But yeah, I consider myself, I'll say a naturalista, but not a natural naturalista. But that's me. And I'll explain that if you want.
Thanks. Our second panelist is Manette Goff, who's been in the group for, I think, a fair amount of time. So Manette, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Annette, and I have been natural for about 3 years, but I have a similar experience as Sharma did. I went natural or did the big chop in college many years ago, but of course I couldn't handle it, and so I went back to perming. So about 3 years ago, I decided to do the big chop again, and I always wanted locks. And so I grew my hair out to my shoulders with extensions, not weave, but with lock extensions for about 2 years. And then when it was long enough, well, I thought it was long enough, I took it out, and it's just been growing like wildfire ever since. I love it. The best hairstyle ever.
Awesome. And our last panelist is Kira Ford.
Hi. Well, with my hair, I've always had a love-hate relationship. I was not able to get it permed until the 8th grade. I think I was like 12. And because my hair is really wild and big and hard for me to manage. And so I had always been begging for perm because I grew up like with everybody around me. I had cousins and I'm from a multiracial family, so I have cousins who look like everything. None of us look the same. But I had always grown up envious of my cousins with like the straight hair or the curls that fell easily, like the wash and go texture. So I had begged for this perm so at least I could look nice to me in the 8th grade and was not able to maintain it because it's very high maintenance and I'm very hair lazy. And so I brutalized my hair until I was about 19 years old, where I had my first heartbreak and did the very stereotypical woman thing of balding her head and acting like it ain't no good. And that's how I started going natural. I had like a small fro and I kept it there. And my first big chop was a struggle. I did not last very long because I was still having issues accepting my texture, comparing myself to other people. I'll be honest, comparing myself to other hairstyles and hair textures. And so I had texturized it like once and twice in the beginning so I could get it like a curl pattern that falls and was easier for me to maintain and deal with. And I was, of course, not able to maintain that either, even though I was only doing that like twice a year. And in the last 5 years, I had another big chop right after I had my baby. And I left it natural that time. So now it's just it's just a mess. but I've grown to accept it. So I don't say it's a mess with any type of ill feelings toward my hair. But I'm like completely natural now, and I appreciate it. I was able to accept my texture. A lot of people like my hair. It took me such a long time to be able to sincerely accept a compliment, because at first I was like, are you people crazy? You know? But I love my texture now. I'm glad that I went natural, and I feel like the transition is more than physical. So it was a bigger deal for me than just not perming my hair anymore or trying to jump on the natural train. That's the end of my long story.
Well, that's so. For me, my mother permed my hair. I think when I was like 12 or 13, I was standing in a wedding, and I never enjoyed the process. I had this spot at the back of my head that would burn every single time, and when I say burn, like there would be a wound in my head. So I think once I left high school and once I had more autonomy, I was more curious about my natural hair and just not interested in the upkeep. Like it didn't make any sense to me, given that it was such a painful experience every time. And so I did, similar to Kira, I grew it out with braids, and then the impetus to really just cut it off before I was actually planning to was my ex like telling me, oh, I can't cut my hair, like as if it was his property, which I thought was hilarious. And then I never went back. And it is a journey. Like it takes time to figure out, what works for your hair, what hairstyles you like, because for a lot of us, we didn't grow up with it natural, so you're kind of having to relearn that as an adult, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. And so to transition to our topic, this issue, support the puff. I think it was 2 weeks ago now, or has it only been a week, when this incident happened. So to give people some background, a student at CR Walker, actually, has anybody followed this more closely? Because I was only meant to sort of provide my reaction to it, but my understanding is that the student was sort of reprimanded for her hair being natural and looking unkempt, quote unquote. And her mother was, upset about this, made a Facebook post about it with the hashtag #supportthepuff. And there was this groundswell of support from people, in the Bahamas who are very proud of wearing their hair natural, and it sort of just took off from there. And what we sort of want to get today, maybe a good place to start, is what were your initial reactions to this controversy?
Well, when I first heard about the story, the only thing that I had really heard was that she was reprimanded for her hairstyle. So the first thing I went to do was go and look at a picture of her, and I know that there was a photo circulating. I'm not certain if that's how her hair looked that day that she was scolded in school, but it didn't seem to be an untidy puff to me. And so I was originally confused before I got offended, because I was trying to figure out what the problem was with her hair. It wasn't an adult style to me. It didn't seem messy to me. It looked like she deliberately put her hair in that puff. And so the first reaction that it got from me was it didn't sit well with me. I wasn't angry at first because I didn't know everything that had happened, but it didn't initially sit well with me.
Monette?
Yeah, well, I kind of came across the story on Facebook, and like Kira said, I wasn't sure that that was the actual way she wore her hair that way. I mean, that day. But I mean, I wasn't angry because I'm like, you know, there are so many other things to focus on in school, and this lady is focused on the hair, and then I'm like, okay, so you said it's untidy, it's unkept, but to me, I didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, the impression that I got is that she wore her hair similar to how she had it in the picture, which was in a puff. It was pushed back with a headband, and I thought it was fine. So I'm like, why is this lady, obviously older lady, who is not in tune with, you know, I guess, wearing natural hair or just not accepting natural hair. Why is she all over this little girl when there's kids in school? They have weaves, they have, all kind of different things that's definitely more of a distraction or should be focused on more than this child's hair. So I was kind of angry, I must say.
Sharma, what were your initial thoughts about this?
Well, for me, I just really thought it was stupid. That was my initial reaction, and really still is. I was like, that is so stupid. How are you going to tell a girl, like, to get her in trouble for wearing her natural hair and in a puff? And that picture I saw, it's a gorgeous puff too. So in what way is that unkempt? Was my reaction. And to say that, oh, it's not professional, really? I mean, that's your defense. You're preparing them for the business world. That's why she can't wear a puff. Oh, please.
Oh, hey, we have your video on Kira. Yeah. So I think my reaction response was, well, disappointment, because when I saw the principal's comments, I was like really like the same. It's like I wash my hair, pull it into a puff, and I go to work. I'm in a professional environment. There's nothing unprofessional about a puff. And then I was pleasantly surprised to see that a lot of people supported it because, I think it's still, for whatever reason, in 2016, it's still a big issue for a woman to wear her hair, untextured, her natural texture in the Bahamas. So, it's, excited, okay, people are getting behind this. But then when I saw that it went beyond the Bahamas, like now it was publicized on Cosmopolitan. Now this had a video. So I think there was even a post on HuffPost about it, where they copied somebody's blog about it. And I think at that point I got a little upset because there are a lot of issues, really important issues, happening in the Bahamas right now, and this sort of seemed trivial in comparison. So our actual moderator is here, fresh from the salon. So Rayne, do you want to introduce yourself and then take over?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Sikira, Sharma, Monette, Andra. I'm late as usual. Apologies. Funny enough, I had to go and get a relaxer. I'm here. I'm not sure. I don't know what I've missed, but I'll just do a quick introduction of myself. My name is Rayne, and I've been a member of BFT for, I don't know, about a year or so now. I made a post on the topic of the support the puff, and I think that's why I might have been chosen as moderator. I'm not 100% sure. But I'll be leading this discussion today.
Awesome. So we already introduced ourselves, so you can just go wherever you wanted to pick up from.
Okay, awesome. So I guess my first question, and it's pretty much the question of a lot of persons that have been paying attention to this whole support the Puffgate issue. That's my computer that's doing that. I don't know what's going on, but
Okay.
Right. So my first question would be, why do you think that this went viral out of all of the various topics that we've been discussing over these past few months, with all of the Bahamas and the NHI? Why is this the topic that seemed to hit all of the international airwaves?
So I think maybe internationally, I think there have been similar issues happening, at least in the U.S., which is where I live. There have been a few similar incidences of minority students clashing with school authorities about the way they wear their hair. girls in particular, but there was also a case of a Native American boy whose parents didn't want to cut his hair, and the school authorities were like, he's a boy, he has to cut his hair, boys must have short hair. And, you know, the parents were like, no, this is basically, you know, it's their beliefs and their religion that argued against them cutting their hair. So I think there was that sort of resonance, especially and with the political climate in the U.S., where issues that affect Black people have come more to the forefront, and one of those, and that occasionally gets some traction, is how Black women wear their hair. So I think that sort of helped in getting the story picked up.
Anyone else has an opinion on it?
Oh, sorry, somebody's talking? Yeah, I think where, and I don't want to use the word trend, but where a lot of people are using social media to unite their voices as well. It's so easy to pick up on a trend. So like you said, it's a particularly hot topic, for another lack of a better word. But it is a current issue, and because of that, I think that's why so many people were willing to jump on the support train for natural hair. It's like it's a living, breathing movement right now.
Yeah, I kind of think that Black History Month played a big role in the video going viral. I mean, obviously during Black History Month, there's like a hyper awareness to anything of this nature. So I think that was a major reason why it kind of took off in the U.S. More so, I guess, than anywhere else, because I mean, Black History Month is a big thing there. So, I mean, I'm thinking that is definitely one of the reasons. It's also a very relatable story. You know, women around the world could relate to it. It's a, you know, principal student type of story. So a lot of emotions involved. So I think it's a lot of different factors as to why this went the way it did, and it's not it could have happened anywhere. You know, it just so happened to be in the Bahamas, because this story, I think it would have taken off if it happened anywhere. That's my as to why it kind of took off the way it did.
I think yesterday, in the prep for this, somebody, I forget who it was, also mentioned that the Super Bowl, or Beyonce's premiere of the video for Formation, that also happened just before. Yes, Sharma. So you give us your take on that, because you think that's sort of, because that also brought up some issues. Yeah, I think you're muted.
Okay, sorry, my mic has been tripping out a bit. Well, yes, like I said, I feel like with the hashtags, it's tripping out again.
We can hear you.
It is? Okay. With the hashtags, along with the Beyonce video, not Beyonce's video, as well as her performance, everyone was saying that it's such a controversy. She's calling for Black power, and then, or she shouldn't be doing something like that at such a forum. And with that controversy, everyone was really, and not just the controversy, the video, which I personally also loved, and everyone was really feeling their afros. And then here comes this story with the girl saying her afro is unkempt, so she was kicked out of school, or however the story is making the rounds. She was suspended, and whatnot, allegedly. Let me say allegedly suspended for having this afro puff, calling it unkempt. And so, of course, everyone just got on their high or medium-sized horses and say, hey, no, we support the puff, of course. Plus, it's an excuse to take a selfie, and a selfie with the catching hashtag. Yes, it's gonna go viral. As compared to, I would say, other issues which are more localized, and which, yes, we discuss in groups, and we discuss in general as a people. But the U.S. and the international community, they're not necessarily going to come and say, oh, stop the corruption, hashtag, share that all over social media. Whereas the selfie in that, like, what do they get out of saying that? So that's probably why this took off outside, beyond the Bahamas' borders, as compared to something else, in my opinion.
So what do you think is pretty much everybody is asking what is, the big deal about it? Now that we have some understanding of why it went viral, what for you makes it so important that it deserved to go viral in a sense, as opposed to other issues in the country?
Now, I won't say as opposed to other issues. Now, in itself, it's good, I would say. Yes, we people need to be confident and to know that just because they have natural hair or they wear their hair naturally, it does not mean that, oh, I can't go to work with my natural hair. Although I've heard that of some foolishness and some businesses downtown do tell women just that. However, that is absolute garbage. It's really most domains. Most domains. I don't know about the garbage. The people, some of those jewelry sellers downtown tell their workers. But otherwise, there's no reason you cannot wear your hair natural and have it not be professional. Like worked and have my hair natural. What's wrong with that, really? What's wrong with that? You can't. For me, that's absolute garbage for that to be an excuse to say, oh no, you can't wear your hair like this. What kind of foolishness is that? How does that affect her efficiency? Even we say looks wise, attractiveness. If her hair is groomed, if it looks nice, and that puff look nice, in my opinion. So I can't see someone. For me, that's just a garbage reason to admonish a student or anyone when it's actually fixed. Just because it's not fixed, you don't have a puff. Like I don't know if she was jealous of the girl's puff, but just because you don't have that, or just because your hair is not that way, you can't say, oh, her hair is unkempt and looks obviously fixed. Now, for me, it's not as compared to other issues, because other issues are also should, I feel, be big, also should be, I won't say viral, because I don't feel that it necessarily going viral will cause the government to do anything different. The thing with our more localized issues, maybe this is social media. This one was big on social media. Other things can be big on social media, but they won't be as effective. If you want local issues to be more renowned, we say, then people have to actually leave their house or get up and maybe go to protests and go and get these. However, I don't even know if we have a certain amount of signatures to get something done in our government, really. But it takes more actual action is needed when it comes to those bigger issues. Not just this is a social media, I won't say protest, but trend, not to say trend, but really this is a social media platform that's been happening. Social media boom. It's not going to be the same with our bigger issues. Of course not. Like, of course not. Right, for me.
Okay.
And I just wanted to piggyback on that and say that I'm not that issues whether or not it deserved to go viral, because she did. I had read some posts on her interactions with some people on some of the sites. They were really random as they popped up on my feed, but she communicated that she did not wake up the mother, I'm speaking of now, who initiated all of this with her post. She didn't write the post to start a social media frenzy that would go viral. She said this was going on with her daughter that day, and she went to Facebook and she made the commentary in the same way that she makes commentary about other current issues that are going on in the country. It just happened to go viral because, for varying reasons, people are internationally interested in supporting this movement because, like I said before, I feel like it's just like a living, breathing thing, and it's just what's going on right now. So she didn't intend to say, out of everything that's going on in the country, I want to focus on the puff and my daughter's hairstyle and what went on with what. What I think people should be paying attention to, before, let me backtrack on that, because I also feel like internationally, everyone's reasons for supporting it doesn't necessarily have to line up with what's going on with us here locally. What it did for us locally was get a conversation started, and it allowed us to come together locally and do something or get behind something, and not just do it, but allow it to be seen. Like you could actually have felt the weight of this particular campaign that never intended to be a campaign. And so I think what people should be focusing on, instead of trying to trivialize the issue or pit the issue against other issues, is to learn from it, look at it objectively, and see what it is that it's doing. So I don't think every issue that we have needs to go viral. I think we need to decode whatever it is that gets us in one place, trying to accomplish something, supporting something, whatever the next thing is. It doesn't have to be a hashtag that goes over to the world to say, very corrupt. You know, we know. We just need to talk about it.
Real pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes. So I'm just saying, I don't think that going viral is absolutely necessary. I just think that this was something that should have been looked at in a way that helps us to plan going forward for other issues. That does not mean that this issue is not important just because someone is not directly affected by it or don't feel any particular way about it. That's not the point. It's not about how you feel about it. It's looking at what it is that it's doing, because we're supposed to be trying to create a climate of change. And now that we are experiencing some sort of agitation, before we understand how we gain success agitating something, we're going to fight about whether or not we care about what the girl's hair look like. It's not about her hair, to me.
Who's next? Kendra, are you there?
Sorry, I had to step away for a second. To pick up on Kira's last point, I think about people not being concerned about issues that aren't personal, I think that was one of the reasons that helped this go viral, because it is so relatable for a lot of people. And it's something that, and I think that allowed more people to have an opinion or be comfortable in voicing that opinion about it, because we can talk about corruption or bad governance and all these other things, but I think the more complex issues are harder for people, the average person, to understand. But everybody has some type of feeling about their hair, and I think people sort of tapped into that in combination with this growing frustration that we have with other things going on in our country. And for a lot of people, the reaction was, our students have a D average when it comes to BGCSEs, and you're worried about a hairstyle. And I think that sort of frames it like perfectly. It's like we are still worried about things we shouldn't be worried about, and expending energy, denigrating people for who they are, for a really basic part of who they are, instead of focusing on how do we better educate our students, how do we provide them with better opportunities. And I think that this sort of simple, what we sort of see as a simple thing, is just a sign of a growing frustration with so much that is going wrong. So it's one of the symptoms, I guess, of a larger problem.
Okay, I want to kind of stir the conversation to something that Shauna said. You said that in regards to the principal who basically was the one that started this whole issue where she told the student that she is not allowed to wear this puff in this fashion. And you said that basically she should not be the person making the decision on whether or not this student should be able to wear this puff. I've been seeing comments on various websites from Bahamians, and some of the students have basically said, you know, that the way that her hair was in that photo is not how it was at school that day. And along with that, they're saying that, you know, basically the rule of the school is that your hair must be neat. Now, in order to determine if your hair is neat or not, the principal would, you know, be the one to make that decision. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like, you know, this should be taken out of the school's handbook, or who should be the person that decides whether your hair is neat or not? Because we have persons who are saying that her hair was neat, but what makes them able to decide that it was neat and the principal unable to decide that it wasn't neat?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, like, I mean, not to be disrespectful, the principal is in charge of the school, but who are you to say that this child's hair was not neat? What is neat? You understand? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I understand, you know, I saw a lot of comments about, you know, it's the school's rules. It's not about the puff. It's about the rules. And when you're in school, you're supposed to abide by the rules. But come on. I mean, there are many different types of hairstyles worn at school, and that could be called unkept. You know what I mean? You have, I guess, some people. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that this particular principal, I think she's of a more traditional mindset. She's not, I guess, living in modern times in terms of hairstyles and natural hair. And okay, her hair might not have been worn with the band on it to pull it back, but even a regular afro is not unkept. I mean, maybe she's thinking about the afros back in the 60s and 70s that were you know, they were really pat down and really like perfect. But that's not the afro of today. And so, I mean, even though we are, you know, a support the puff, is this lady still going to have the same mindset? You know what I mean? Is it going to be an issue with other kids to come? Is this child going to be, you know, looked down on or frowned upon for the next, I don't know, I think she's in 11th grade, so for the next year, is she going to have to change schools? And there's just so much dynamics to this whole thing. And I doubt that it was handled from the top, meaning the Ministry of Education, properly. She probably was just told one or two things, and then, you know, business as usual. You know, we don't really deal with stuff properly into the root here. So I don't know. I mean, I can't even say it should be taken out of schools, that decision, because obviously the people in higher places, I shouldn't say obviously, but we know the mindset of the older Bahamian people. So it's a tricky one. I don't know. I don't know.
That's a really excellent point, though, because people, I mean, are clearly up in arms about this, but then what happens next? Because if a similar incident happens next term, what's the point? If this doesn't, how do we sort of use this momentum to pressure Ministry of Education to say, have a discussion with administrators, look at their guidelines, and have a serious discussion about what, I mean, because they dictate, you know, the length of your skirts. You know, girls, I think, at least when I was in school, you couldn't have a color in your hair, you couldn't have X, Y, Z. So they already dictate a lot of things about students' appearance. So we visit those guidelines and, you know, update them, and, you know, for a modern world and what people now accept as being acceptable, and bring your guidelines in line with that. And I think that's probably, you know, if people are sort of serious about that, that is one way that we can start to apply pressure. And if you see it as a baby step towards pressuring the government on other things, or making them listen to the voices on other things, you know, if I think it would be a great victory if you can get like just get the ministry to look at their guidelines, revisit them, change them, take their administrators through some training so they don't say stupid shit on TV about students' hair. Start small, and maybe this becomes part of greater involvement in other issues.
Yeah, because I think a big problem that I had seen coming up is that the school actually does have guidelines on how students' hair should be kept and what the idea, at least not what exactly their idea of groomed is. I did see something where they said, if you have your hair in a ponytail, you brush your hair back neatly, or there was, I wish I had screenshot the image, but I know that there was mention in the school book. There was another parent of a student at CR Walker that took a picture of the, I guess, orientation booklet that you would get, and the school does make mention of it. So I think that is actually a great idea, and probably the first step that needs to be taken is to provide further clarity, because if it's left up to your discretion and what you like versus what you don't like, I think that's putting too much emphasis on students' physical appearances and changing it from them understanding the importance of grooming, which is all it is, and being presentable in public, to now trying to form their identity to please this particular person. This principal don't mind the perm hair, the next principal don't mind the weave, the next principal don't mind the lip liner, the next one wants, you understand? So I think that's actually the exact step that needs to be taken, is to sit down and revisit their guidelines. They're there, but if this is this big of an issue, then clearly they're not clear enough, and they need to go back and do it again. I think it's the perfect next step.
Agreed. Really, they should revise the handbook with all of these issues that have come about, and be a bit more clear. Like you said, for example, they're clear on the length that girl skirts must be in school, but then when it comes to hair, it's just neat, and of course neat is subjective. But kind of building on this, I've seen a lot of persons, for example, I made a post on this, and there were some persons who said, that this whole hair thing is kind of reflective on your love of yourself. And you have some persons who said that, if you relax your hair or if you put weave in your hair, it reflects on how much you love yourself, and you're trying to diminish your African roots or whatever have you. What are your thoughts on that? And do you feel that it is, a deeper issue, not so much about the hair, but so much about self-respect and self-love and whatever else? Kira? Looking at you.
I'll talk because I had mentioned something similar to this in my intro. I think that it is true. I had struggled for a long time with accepting my hair during my transition process, from going from natural to perm, back to natural. And the last time that I had done a big chop, which was recently after I had my son, I had decided to just leave my hair natural the way that it was. And it took me learning to get what I want out of what I have, and I cannot really verbalize the connection that it made. But there is, and it didn't change my life to the sense that, okay, I woke up, I got my hair in a neat ponytail one day and I was Superwoman. But piece by piece, every small victory, every frustration, everything I didn't like about my hair made me go back and think, why am I comparing myself to my cousin? Or why do I think that this is better than this? And it made me ask myself these questions that led me down different paths that introduced me to different parts of myself, or at least to whatever it was that I was really struggling with. So I can appreciate a lot more about myself because I know a lot more about myself. And those things happened in, honestly, the times that I couldn't get what I wanted out of, whatever it was that I had. It made me challenge what it is that I wanted. And that's not, like I said, that's not the end-all, be-all answer to life. That happens all the time, whether or not I decide to curse out a driver or not, I'll sit down and say, oh, what's going on with me today? You know what I mean? But I can't, it has played a role, and it has made me accept a lot more of myself, the good and the bad. And it's also a way for me to express that too, because I don't think that there's anything else that adds more character to you than your hair. Like when my hair was permed, I didn't look like everyone else, of course. I have a different face, but I don't know. I didn't really feel my own kind of different until I went natural. And even if it's just not being able to duplicate the same hairstyle in 1 week because my hair crazy today and it's behaving tomorrow, I don't know. It's more of my. It feels like I'm able to express a lot more of my personality without saying anything. My hair isn't me, but it's a part of me, you know. And so I think that is legitimate. I think there is a mental and emotional transformation that happens when you decide to take on your natural hair and just accept that this is who you are and what you're working with, and to find a way to learn how to love that. Learn what you need to buy to put in it, learn how you need to cut it, but then you could apply that same approach to a lot of different things. And that's how it affected me in the way I looked at a lot of stuff.
Well, I guess I have a kind of different experience. Really didn't make me feel any different. I mean, my self-esteem didn't. I mean, I've always been fine with my self-esteem and and me. I don't have any issues there. But it didn't. It was just simply getting rid of the chemicals and wearing my hair in its natural state. Like I said earlier in the introduction, I always wanted dreadlocks. I love dreadlocks. I don't know why. It's just something about it. From a young girl, I liked it. I tried it in college, but that was back in the day when you would have to, wear the little, those little twists on your head. And no, I wasn't having that, especially not in college. I had to look cute. That's a rough stage. So it was, for me, it was just simply wearing my hair natural, getting rid of, all the chemicals and all these other crazy stuff. So I think it varies from woman to woman. And I mean, I love it, you know, my
Yeah,
2 cents.
I agree. I think for some people it really does play a part with the self-esteem. And then there are others who are just that perming is easier for them. They think they look better with the permed hair. They think their natural hair doesn't suit them. And it's not necessarily that they hate themselves, just that is what they feel they look best with. I mean, it could be just as simple as that. And for some people it is just as simple as that. Like for me, I remember the very first time my hair was permed, my aunt did it without my mother's permission. But I didn't protest because I was 12 years old and everyone else had permed hair. So I was like, okay, I want my hair permed too, although my mother didn't want it. And I can see why my hair was really long as a kid. But the perm really damaged my hair a lot. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to stop it, because I would also get a lot of burns in my head from perm all the time because my hair was so thick that the perm has to stay on my head long in order to really deaden my hair. Because my hair is really super thick. So I wanted to change from that, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same. It's not necessarily about self-love.
Yes, like that for me. I mean, you are like breaking bonds in your hair. Your hair is a protein, and using strong bases like sodium hydroxide will do that. So I get that perspective that people want to put less chemicals, because at the end of the day, you're still putting chemicals in your hair to moisturize it, to clean it, to do whatever. But it is less harsh if you're not, well, depending on what you do, because even that can vary when you look at some of the products on the market, even for natural hair. So that, I mean, that is one way of looking at it, but I think it's sort of, I think what needs to happen is that we need to retrain people in how to think or broadening their perspective of what is acceptable. Because if you look at the remarks the principal made on TV, she was like, you know, the issue we have is that some girls, they just want to put a band on their hair and just leave the hair, and it looks, you know, unkempt or untidy and like it hasn't been combed for days. And if your standard is, you know, the hair should be, you know, the hair is bone straight, and so when you pull it back, it should be smooth and do, you know, whatever. I can see how you might think that me pulling my hair back and just leaving it looks unkempt, but it's, you know, it isn't. Like, that's a hairstyle, or that is the natural texture of my hair, that took some effort and some grooming. And so really the problem is with how we encourage or support people in thinking like that this is a standard, or this is the only standard, and this is the only you know, definition of what neat or groomed looks like. And when you take that definition, you sort of cut out or tell a whole lot of people that they don't look neat or well groomed, and that's a problem. You know, I remember the reactions I got when I cut off my hair, and it was like, why would you want to cut off all your hair? And you know, woman's beauty is in her hair. And to hear that as like a you know, woman in her early 20s, it's just like, these are people who say they love me, and to sort of have a scornful reaction to, you know, me just doing something that I thought was best for me is disappointing, really. And it's unnecessary at the end of the day. You know, it's really not something that people should be made to feel ashamed of, or, you know, yeah. And so we need to sort of get people to think differently, be broader in what they think is appropriate.
Okay, I know one thing. I clearly told y'all I just came from getting a relaxer, and y'all gonna diss relaxers in front of my face like this?
I am loving your hair color, actually.
Thank you. So my whole take on the whole, you know, getting relaxers or sewing in weave is a reflection of your love of yourself. I just think it's absolute bullshit. I don't care what you do with. Oh my God! Give me a moment.
The cheering squad in the background. No, yeah, we talked a little bit. It should, you know, what you do, it should come from, you should be comfortable with doing whatever, you know, it is you want to do with your hair. Like, if people want to straighten it, that should be fine. Like, it shouldn't come from a place of hate. Like, you shouldn't be relaxing, you know, your hair, well, because, you know, there's so much hate associated with what is coming out of your head. You know, it should be like, this is how you want to look, because you like this look.
Agreed. And you know, I mean, honestly, there are some persons that relax their hair because, you know, they want their hair to look like persons that are more European. They want their hair to be straight, and they're, you know, basically dissatisfied with the way that their natural hair looks. For me, it's just I don't like to do much with my hair. I just want to wake up and comb it and go. I actually, like I told Manette last night, I actually do really like locks, but I also like for my hair to flow. I like to run my fingers through it. So locks is a no for me. But, you know, it's all up to basically preference and what you feel that you are willing to handle and willing to do with your hair. Like I said, some persons just don't feel that they, you know, have the time and the patience. I definitely don't have the patience for it. But leading from that, what are your thoughts on, and I know everybody hates, let me rephrase, every person with natural hair hates to hear this, but what are your thoughts on natural hair is not for you?
People say that?
You've never heard it?
You mean like when somebody transitions, they think, people tell them like they don't look as good with natural hair?
Yeah.
Wow.
Natural hair is not for you, or your natural hair is not pretty, it's not cute, it's just not for you. You should stick with relaxers.
I never got that, thankfully.
Kira has got it.
Well, I haven't gotten it about my hair texture, but I have heard some self-loathing women tell other women that they don't have the right texture to go natural, or when they do go natural, they say that it doesn't suit them, and that boils my blood. First of all, it's your own nasty opinion that you can keep to yourself. And two, you don't even know, not that it matters that you need to know, but everybody wears their hair the way they do for whatever reasons they have, and that's a personal thing. And for someone who feels the freedom to alter their hair and wear it that way without judgment, to come and approach someone who woke up like this and tell them that that's wrong, you're looking for friction, because what makes you right, for one? I mean, and it's not to bash permed hair. Like I said, my hair was permed for many years, and I had asked for that. But the reality of the situation was I was burning my scalp. I have a very sensitive scalp, and I got burns every time I got burned when I texturized my hair. And two, like I said before, my hair has a story that was my personal journey with my hair. And so how am I then supposed to answer to someone who goes out of their way to express their freedom of how they want to wear their hair, and you approach me and tell me that my hair doesn't suit you? I mean, we could talk about whether or not your shade of foundation suits you, because that could be changed. It's not natural. But don't come at people about that. Just do me something. I do not appreciate that.
Yeah, I haven't got I haven't experienced anything like that with locks. The only thing I get all the time is that it's so permanent. And I'm like, okay, but you know, there's so many styles. There are so many styles that you can do with locks. I mean, I'm not one for the styles, but I see all types of styles. But I haven't gotten any of that. I guess it's more when you wear your hair, you know, when you wear like your hair out. But I haven't experienced that, and I have not been around anybody that have. Well, I haven't heard of anybody that's experienced that before. I mean, I work with a lot of women with natural hair. Like I said, the other day, it's 19 of us, I think, in the office, and it's like 9 and counting women go natural. And I work in a major organization in Nassau, and we've had no issues. I mean, there's locks, there's, I mean, there's just about any type of natural hairstyle, and there's no, it has to be, obviously it has to be neat because you're in a work environment, but it can be like Kendra's, it can be like Kiera's. I mean, it's, you know, and we're client facing. And so we see clients. It's not like we're behind the scenes and nobody sees us except the coworkers. No, we see clients, and we see high value clients, if that means anything to anybody. You know, so another point with this principal, I again was really pissed off when she said that she's grooming them for the work environment, because I'm like, this child will leave school and she will see women over and over in working environments with natural hair. So what are you telling her? What you're telling her is garbage. And I think it really stems back to her own personal opinion on natural hair. This principle. Yeah.
Stemming from that, a lot of persons are basically saying, you know, this natural hair is not really so much an issue in the workplace as it's being made out to, you know, to seem. I work in an organization, and we have multiple persons with natural hair, and their hair and twists, or I have a couple of them with the puffs, and it's really no issue at all. We have persons with locks and all of that. But there are still some organizations that frown upon, definitely upon locks. I know that there are organizations that you can't get hired if you have locks, whereas the puff is more accepted than the locks itself. Do you think that this is as much? Well, I mean, really, all of it is interconnected. I haven't seen much persons, you know, basically defending the whole lock issue as they have been defending the puff. Do you think the persons are, you know, realizing that locks are still very much so banned in workplaces today? in Nassau?
That's a good question. I think the part of the issue with locks might be that it's associated with a religion that's associated with marijuana use, and I think that complicates it a little bit for some people. And I don't know if that. So I personally see it as one, you accept the puff, you accept locks. To me, it really doesn't matter. People should be allowed to wear their hair however they want. But I think, at least in the Bahamas, it's like you have that additional hurdle that there's, and all the things that we associate, negative things that we associate with Rastafarianism, sort of get bundled into that. Even if if your locks look like Monette, and I think that's a part of the thinking behind that, and why there isn't like a natural, embracing of the locks with that as well. Like, a lot of people came out, for the puff, but that's the only reason I can think is like there's some, sort of resistance to that, is seeing it's still seen as pretty different when it comes to natural hair. But again, like, you have people who like Manette, who have locks and can still function. Like, it's not an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. And I think, it goes back to sort of, we need to change the guidelines, where the thinking where it matters. I mean, you will have students come out of school who might still think that way, or once they get out, they realize, well, it actually doesn't matter, and I can wear my hair however I want. Or in some cases, it still does matter. Like my brother, he cut off his locks last year because he started looking for a job and realized he wasn't getting anywhere with the places he was looking with locks. So I think depending on where you're looking, it might still matter significantly what you look like. Now, whether or not that changes once you're into an organization and you can transition then is a different matter. But I think, by and large, there's still a problem. Like, people, with people not being able to get hired because their hair is a certain way.
Now, moving, kind of back to the young lady that this whole issue stemmed from, she basically said that, when this principal told her that she needs to fix her hair, it made her feel ugly, and that she was less than persons who have relaxed hair or have, various hairstyles. So what are your thoughts on that? And do you feel that, basically these principals or teachers should really be careful in what they say to these students? Do you feel that it affects the self-esteem of Black children? Because honestly, the vast majority of our public schools have Black children in them. How do you feel that teachers should speak against, or, well, not so speak against, but encourage persons or students to kind of be more, how should I put this, free with how they groom their hair? Or should they have an opinion at all?
Well, I don't know, but for me, there have always been rules saying that your hair must be groomed. So for me, the issue wasn't said that, oh, her hair must be groomed. Yes, there have always been school rules saying that your hair must be groomed. But I've had natural hair in primary school. I've had natural hair in high school. I've worn puffs. Like, people have worn puffs. People have worn their hair with the little braids and two. I feel that for you saying that her hair in a puff isn't groomed, if that's how her hair was, but for you to say that's not groomed, like, what do you consider groomed? That's essentially a ponytail for natural hair people, essentially. And for you, so really, I don't think that you can't tell children, like, I don't think that you can keep your hair groomed out of the rule book. I don't think that you should, because yes, I feel that, yeah, that your hair should be groomed. They shouldn't just go to school with half the afro like this and then the next half from how they sleep on it, if you understand what I'm saying. it should be obvious that your hair is not slept in. It should be like, and for natural hair people, I guess if you can see it, you tend to be able to see when if you sleep on your afro. But to say that a puff isn't groomed or a certain style isn't groomed, I mean, that's just ignorance. Like, do you want to keep yourself ignorant? I feel like black educators especially should know about natural hair. Like they should, in my opinion. So they should know that when it's obvious that this child's hair is groomed. Like that should be really, really obvious to me. I mean, I'm not certain why it wasn't or how it couldn't have been.
I'll see. What you said is in a way kind of contradictory, because you first said that you can't just expect to wake up and come to school with your hair however it was. But I mean, if this is your natural hair, then how much grooming is necessary for it to be groomed? What is groomed?
Right. I'm saying that what I said was that when you I say it's obvious when you wake up on an afro, at least with my hair type and with others I've seen, you can see if it's been slept on. Half would be like this, really pressed down, or wherever side you sleep on will be pressed down like this, and then other sides would be up or open. So for me, when I said it's obvious when you haven't done anything to your hair, then it's really obvious. When I say groomed, I mean you can have your hair tie on, you can comb your fro, or just pick. Make sure it's picked or combed, or if it's just a twist out, or if there's nothing, absolutely nothing done, and you can see these parts sticking in here. For me, if you're going to school or work or wherever, obviously you should do something to it, as in pick it out or just put it up in a puff. Do something like that, minimal. You don't have to go out and get it braided down or get an elaborate style. But don't just wake up with your hair mashed down and just go about your business. Now, regarding the self-esteem issue, like,
go ahead.
I feel that regarding self-esteem issues, if somebody's hair is groomed, if they took the time to put it in the puff, which does take time. I mean, for me, putting my hair in the puff could take up to half an hour or more. So, for to say that, oh, your puff isn't groomed or whatever, that's silly. I mean, that's, for me, it's really silly, and that could be, and it could play into your self-esteem issues if they, they did their hair and they say, okay, they're cute, and then they go to school and it's like, oh, your hair looks like you did nothing to it. When was the last time you picked this or combed this, or when was the last time you did something to your hair? When you did do something to your hair, when you did take the time to put it up in a puff or to do whatever you decided to do with it. That is, that could play with your mind a bit.
I'm kind of interested in finding out, or I wonder if there are any teachers there that are natural. I wonder what the policy or guidelines are around teachers, because I know a few teachers in the government schools with dreadlocks and with natural hair. And so I'm just kind of interested in knowing their take on it, and if there was some dialogue or pushback from any of the teachers, with the principal with regards to this. It's pretty interesting, but I mean, the thing is with the self-esteem, a lot of these kids, girls in particular, well, I shouldn't say girls in particular, they look up to their teachers and the principals because, I mean, truth be told is they come from pretty broken up homes, right? And so, you're trying to be this individual, you're trying to be yourself, and then you go to this person that you look up to, and then they kind of mash you down. So I think these teachers or principals need to be trained, or they may be trained, but they need to keep the training ongoing with regards to, just kind of ways of handling situations like this. Because if this child didn't have the strong mother that she has, because clearly her mother is a pretty, it could have really broken her down. But I'm sure her mother really, really, really did whatever she did. She really, really got her to understand, look, this is not going to break you. We can push through this. We're gonna make something out of this. I don't know. But I'm just saying they should be careful with how they approach these situations nowadays. That's my take on how I feel the teachers should
Yeah.
handle the self-esteem.
I think
And
I think
and I just want to say too. Oh, sorry,
go
am I
ahead.
talking to somebody? Oh, oh, yeah, no. Well, I just want to say, I don't think too, in the same breath, that the principal, even though I feel as if her actions are misguided, that she should be painted as the big bad wolf, because when I read more and more about the story, I saw that it started at the gate with inspections to make sure you were only wearing one pair of socks. So I think she is well intentioned to try and have the students in a very structured environment and make sure that they understand the difference with authority. Like, I am not advocating that children continuously challenge the school's authority or what's the word? I'm not looking to revolt over a child's will over whatever the structure is the administration has in place. But I think that, like Ned had said earlier, the training is very important, because she did mention that she felt ugly and she felt as if the teacher or the principal, whoever made the comment, was trying to make her seem ugly to her classmate. And so also it was her approach to the situation, because if you really felt as if there was an infringement on whatever the school rules were or the guidelines were, that would have been an opportunity to address that with the student, not make a public announcement in an attempt to embarrass the student. And I'm saying that this is her account of the situation. Let me say that first. I wasn't there, and I've been picking this up in bits and pieces. But she did indicate that that was where the story had started, where she came in and she was doing a little sock inspection, and when she walked off, the comment was about to move on, the comment was made. And so where it comes to her self-esteem, I think the way that it was addressed as well played a part in what could have been a negative impact on her self-esteem had she not had the type of mother who would have come to her defense in the way that she did. So I think that it does. I don't want to say that it will affect a student's self-esteem, but I think it's an unnecessary challenge during a time where kids are very vulnerable because they're developing what that is, and that doesn't even happen until well into adulthood if you live long enough to find out. But I just don't think that it was the time developmentally for her and the environment coming from an authoritative figure like that, and then the way that she did it to make a sort of spectacle of the girl, which is how she felt. I'm not saying that was the teacher's intention, but it was how it was the result, because that's what she said. She felt ugly. She felt as if she wanted her classmates to feel as if she was ugly, and she was very upset and went off crying and all that. So I think there are a lot of factors that could play into the self-esteem, but I don't think that you should be challenging children's self-esteem like that. Even if she had made the point to say the puff is whatever the rule was, to me, that's what she should have stated. This is the rule that you are infringing on and you need to correct it. But because it was a subjective observation, her personal opinion of the girl's hair, I don't even know what the better way would have been to approach it, other than to say that to her privately, to say, I don't like how your hair looks. You know what I mean? Instead of saying your hair looks nasty or whatever, because that's a different conversation. She could have agreed to just pat it down just to end the conversation, because her teacher running on, like the kids say. But when you turn it into a whole dog and pony show, which is how she interpreted it to be, then yes, you can start to have a negative effect on their self-esteem.
Do you think that all of this, that it wouldn't have blown up so much if the principal had just apologized to the student?
That's a good question, because I mean, she wasn't the only one, right? I mean, this wasn't a one-off.
Right.
This was the incident that made the news and that went viral. But this principal, according to reports or what people post on Facebook, she has done similar things to other students. So it's a chronic problem. So while her apologizing to the student might have made that one student feel better that day, if the behavior isn't corrected, then what's the point? If the administrator doesn't realize that what she has done, you know, is damaging, then, you know, it's a useless apology, as far as I would be concerned. So yeah, I don't think. I mean, it might have made her look better, but beyond that, I don't know what else it would have done.
Do you believe that all schools should take this, or should face it? Well, you know, a better question is, how would you clarify the rules in the handbook to ensure that this kind of, I guess, discrimination, if you will, doesn't happen again?
Put in pictures, find 20 different women with 20 different hair textures and photograph all of them with different hairs. Like, make it simple, because people are stupid. People are really, you know, and if they look at a photo and say, okay, your hair looks like, you know, this lady here and she's okay to go, you know, I mean, it's subjective. You know, what one person thinks is neat or well groomed can be subjective. So you have to help people figure it out, and not leave it up to their what they think is nice and neat.
Yeah, and we know Bahamians they don't like to read, right? So the first thing they can see is natural hair, unkept, you know, and then in their mind it can be a whole nother situation. And so I think pictures, I mean, although it may sound crazy, pictures in a handbook for schools, I think it's perfect.
And do the same for boys, because they also, I don't think students are allowed to have dreadlocks in schools.
Well, I don't think so. I think maybe if it's for religious reasons.
Right. And your hair,
and they have to tie them back.
Right.
They have to tie them back. They can't be seen.
Long hair, you know, their hair has to be cut. Like, why? You know,
I think that's crazy.
If a boy wants his hair, you know, if he wants a puff as big as my puff, let him go. Like, it, you know, change the standards, not for everybody. Yeah. Like, let's, you know.
I think there's one or two private schools here, one in particular, and that I think that you could wear dreadlocks. But on average, no, they can't wear them.
And I would suspect that the teachers who do have locks, at least in the public system, probably started without them.
Yeah, and they probably look like this every day. My hair doesn't look like this every day, by the way. It's very neat. But yeah, they probably have to keep it groomed. They probably can't wear it out. It probably has to be pinned up. They probably have a lot of rules and regulations around wearing locks.
Yeah, because I don't think MOE would even hire somebody. Because my mother works there, and it's, you know, if you're a teacher if you apply as somebody with locks, you probably, you know, I mean, now maybe if they're, because they need teachers, it might be different, but they just don't consider you, which is ridiculous.
Wow. Well, maybe one of the, I don't know, I've been at my, where I work, I've been there for about 8 years now. So maybe when it's time for me to job hunt again, I'll take note of my experiences. I'll pay more attention to how I'm treated, or you know, reactions, responses. You know, I'll pay more attention to that type of stuff. I haven't had to deal with any of that type of stuff. So I mean, all in all, the whole locks experience, it's been perfect. I haven't had any issues at all. I don't know.
Maybe it depends on if you apply for the position or interview for the position with locks, as opposed to if you interview with your natural hair or relaxed hair and then you transition after you've already gotten the job.
Yeah, I think there may be some issues surrounding that now that I think about it. And I guess it also depends on your whole appearance in terms of the interviews. You know, I mean, it's not just about the hair, right? It's about the whole appearance. Clearly, you would not go to a job interview with your locks just like, you know, you try to keep them looking a particular way, right? But I don't know. And it's interesting.
Okay, time is kind of winding down, so I'm going to ask a couple of the questions that have been posed in the group. Most recently, Duran wants to know, do you think that there is any influence from colonialism involved in the principal's position in regards to the young? That's a popular question that I've been seeing posed in various forums and on Facebook and in comment sections of the various stories. Colonialism has had any effect on the standards that we hold as it relates to hair?
I think people look at the age of the principal as a way to introduce that as some sort of rationalization for her opinion, and it could possibly be. A lot of older women are very reluctant to changing any values or perspective on womanhood and what that means now. A lot of older women that I have had, and this is not everyone, I have met a lot of women who are very progressive. They're very excited about it. They want to try different, whatever the different thing is, or they're taking advantage of things that they have suppressed for years because they were dealing with those kind of pressures, and so they are on our bandwagon to change what that means and what measures a good woman, an attractive woman, an intelligent woman. So, but there are still a lot of older Bahamian women, I can say, because we were colonized. That is what they know. That is what they understand to be. And so maybe, I don't know if it's as much, she feels as if as a black woman your hair should be permed, but it is likely that she does have one standard of not really just beauty, but I guess grooming that sort of reflects on that kind of colonialism. So, okay, you could have natural hair as long as it's slicked back into a tight ponytail and a bun. Or I don't think that she's directly offended by the natural hair, but maybe her age and her upbringing and what has defined her sense of normalcy and appropriateness is threatened by, and I don't want to say her blackness, but threatened by her deviation from conformity. People respond differently to curls with time. When my hair, like when I fix my hair and I comb it, my curls don't, they just do. People respond differently to that than my bad hair, where I could pick this into a fro. I am a different person. When I walk into a room with my hair huge, everybody notices that I've walked into that room. If I have on a regular slick ponytail and lip gloss, I look like every other woman that has already walked into the room. So I don't know if that visual in itself just threatens, and not particularly this little girl. Maybe she just got it that day. But as far as the colonialism is concerned, I think her standards of beauty and appropriateness and grooming are heavily influenced by that, because I think moving away from that is it takes deliberation. That has to be an intentional thing that you pursue and make yourself aware of. It's not necessarily something that just happens one day. I don't think, because you are who you are and you were molded into that person and that kind of thought. And if you're going to change that, then it's going to take something else molding whatever your new opinion is. And so that takes, to me, some deliberate attention to a new influence that maybe she is just not open to. People set in their ways. I just don't want her to seem like a monster. I think she cares about the kids. I just think that her approach is completely ineffective and is doing, in some aspects, more harm than good. I don't know if the kids there are more well behaved than they used to be years ago. I don't know if the grades are better than when she was there. I don't know what positives she brings to the table. So I don't want her to just be like a bad person. I think colonialism has maybe a lot to do with it. It's a good possibility. I don't want to speak for her, but I can see where that kind of thought would have developed from.
It's the same mindset that led Madam C.J. Walker to invent those hair combs, huh? And goodness knows, Bahamian parents have been using those for ages. I remember as a child, I hated that hot comb.
Yeah.
And some people probably still use it.
I never had to use it. I had my hair relaxed at an early age, and I've never turned back. I don't think I ever will. I have another question. So, do you think that the principal, whether she has been or has not been affected by colonialism, and whether that has, kind of set the standard for her, do you think that it's as a result of being, when I say colonialism, the persons or that whole era, do you think that the whole setting the standard that, your hair must be straightened or if not straightened, kind of slicked back, do you think it was a result of being threatened by blacks or kind of afraid of them? I think you might have touched on that a bit, Kira, just now. Do you think that it was more a affair for them rather than of them, and that's why we have some persons who still stick to those standards?
When you say a fair of people who don't conform,
Fair for persons if they don't conform, as though it's, being too black.
I mean, I think that might be a part of it. That because life tends to be a little bit easier if you look like the group that belongs, right? If you look like a part of the right group, things go more smoothly for you. And when you don't, like if you have your big puff, people make negative assumptions about that. If you have locks, people make negative assumptions about that. It's a lot easier to go that route. So I can see how somebody would convince themselves that you should impose this standard because out of fair, like I want the best for you, and that means you sort of fulfilling these or doing these certain things. But I think if people actually sat down and thought about it, they would, as with anything, like they'd be a little bit less afraid and realize that it's not, it shouldn't have the significance that it does.
So, kind of stemming from that, do you think that it can also be, a fair for the child that's growing up in this society, more so of a fear of them being burdened by being black?
I have a question. A fair from whom? Like, who is doing this?
You
Like,
said
who is faring for this blackness? Like, who is faring for their
black
blackness?
people. Black
Oh, black
people.
people in general. I don't know. I think like
I think like what Kira said, like people respond to you differently based on how your hair is styled. Like if my hair is in twists, and so I work in a pretty international environment, but most of the people are white Americans or Europeans. There's a different response to the puff than there is to the twist, and I think like twists make people feel a little bit more comfortable. Even though like at work I don't talk politics or anything like that, so people really wouldn't be able to assess like what it is I think about whether or not I am like, I don't know, empowered by my puff or whatever. But people do sort of approach you differently or treat you differently, and I think a part of that is also there's a curiosity because it's very unknown for them, and we tend to not like and be fearful of things that we don't know. So there is, I mean, it is pretty complicated, but I think like the fear comes back to sort of not to people to, you look different, you sort of look like you don't belong or you belong less, and then people just don't know, like this isn't what they're used to, like they don't see a lot of women who look like this, so something must be up with this, chick as to why she, looks like this way, she must be making a statement, when really I'm like, this is just my hair, and this is what I decided to do, or what my hair decided to do that day. But people take it much further, and I think that that's where that sentiment comes from.
Okay. Now, I see in the group is being discussed the terminology. Do you feel that natural hair should be the term for persons that don't have relaxed hair? Because Nicole is saying that if we start using categories like natural, then by extension, there'll have to be persons that are on the opposite side of that who will be put into an unnatural category by default. So, for example, if all of you guys' hair is natural and my hair is relaxed, does that make my hair unnatural? Bear in mind, I have no issue with the terms relaxed or natural, but this is something that's being discussed in the group.
I
What are
mean,
your thoughts?
I would just say your hair is relaxed, like that, like describe the process that you did to it. I don't think, I mean, there shouldn't be anything negative associated with that. And I think the only reason that we use natural is because what has become the norm is for women to process their hair. And so now that has become the default, as opposed to, women just wearing their natural texture. Like, so I don't know how you sort of,
Yeah.
I
I mean, natural, it is natural. I mean, it's in its natural state. And
yeah.
so, I mean, that is, I would say, the most fitting, I guess, category to put it in, natural,
And I don't think that's to make it seem better, because natural
No.
doesn't automatically mean better. In the sense, it's just this is the way your hair is without any chemical or harsh processing, I guess.
Without a permanent. Like
Yeah.
even
Or even
we
a
have
hot
no
comb, because a hot comb will do the same.
The same, yeah. I see a lot of people get caught up over that term too, but I think even natural is subjective because in the U, and this is I guess this is my American friend, so I don't know how valid this point is for women, but a lot of them wear weaves. And when they take their weave out, their hair is perm, but they say I'm wearing my natural hair. So it's not necessarily to, like you guys said, to separate. I don't look down on people whose hair is permed, and I don't think that I want to take the conversation there to put any negative connotations on the differences with our hair. I basically just call it chemically processed. That doesn't even mean perm to me. That could be texturized, and it doesn't make it a bad thing because, I mean, I know all of you who natural know, they already in the natural hair community break down to your texture, whether you have 4A, B, 3C, like, I don't ascribe to any of that stuff. It's too much to keep up with. But I don't think that unnatural would be the word because I don't think that anyone is trying to put someone down because they have permed hair or processed hair. It's just different hair. It is the natural state of your hair. That's what I mean when I say it. Because when my hair was still curly but texturized, I said it was curly. I didn't say it was natural.
I feel like natural hair, we black women use it a lot, but Caucasians, white women, Asian women have their natural hair because they can also perm their hair. When they perm it, it gets curly. When we perm it, it gets straight. But it's all natural hair, and the types range from 1 to 4, whatever. But it's all natural hair. We won't say, oh, your hair is unnatural. How dare you come around here with that unnatural hair? No, it's like that you permed your hair or not, or whatever. It's just natural and permed, or natural and processed, however you want to put it.
I think
It's just a term.
I think some people think of natural in terms of natural as in this is what has grown from my head, whether I relaxed it or whether I haven't relaxed it, whether I color it or not. This is mine, so it's natural. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the problem with the phrasing is that, and I think what makes it, I don't know, not so clear for other people to understand because, it's what grows out of your head. So what you do to it, I guess, regardless, is, it's immaterial. It's still your hair, and which is why I think it makes more sense to maybe describe the process. So, and maybe it's, you can say untreated versus treated or processed. I don't know, like it's treated hair versus untreated hair, but it's still, your natural hair. So, I mean, I don't see it as being a hindrance to having a debate about the topic once we, you started defining what it is you're talking about. And I think in this case, we understand that we're talking about hair that hasn't been chemically or mechanically processed harshly. So, or strongly, if people don't like the word harsh. Because I have been able to do things with my hair that make it look pretty close, like it was straightened, without using a relaxer or without using a hot comb or a lot of heat. So natural is just this, can be this catch-all phrase that people can define however they see fit, I guess.
Duran says that natural would be putting nothing in your hair at all, and in its natural form, just as it grows out of your head. So he says it would be one big lock. What do you?
Okay, there's your natural hair, and then there's your natural hair, ungroomed, whatever, nothing on it. Nothing, but doing nothing to it forever. You can do that, but you could use your hair is still natural if you take care of it. There's your natural, not taking care of hair, and then there's your natural hair that you take care of however you choose to do so.
And it's natural to groom, a lot of animals groom themselves. It's no different from monkeys, I don't know, picking lice out of each other, or your pets, you have a dog, right? Your dog licks himself. Animals groom, we do things to maintain, our appearance, mostly for hygienic purposes.
Exactly.
And, some for to attract a mate or a companion. So I guess there are reasons why you do it. There are reasons why you wouldn't want to have a big lock of hair, or to have hair that's all matted and tangled, because that would be unsanitary in a lot of cases. So I mean, that's an extreme definition of natural, I think, that Duran just gave. But
so basically, natural is subjective as well.
No, I don't know what it is Duran is on. Because if you want to go that way, say anything, but
He says grooming without chemicals.
But water is a chemical.
Right? H2O.
H2O is a chemical. That rubs me. When people say the whole chemical versus non-chemical, it's you're still putting stuff in your hair to make it do something or not do something.
Exactly.
It's yeah.
So those curl defining cream.
The time I took my hair out today, it already shrunk 2 inches, and I've made my peace with that. That is what my hair is gonna do, and you just, no matter what stuff I put in it, that's what it's gonna do, and you just accept it and move on.
Duran wants to know
regarding what Silver just said. Regarding what Silver just said about having natural hair, though it's chemically, though it's color treated, I think with the definitions of natural, we can say it's your natural texture. That's the thing. Okay, it's your natural texture. That's what most people mean when they say natural.
Natural texture, yeah.
Not necessarily your fully natural hair with the color or with whatever, but it's your natural texture. When your hair grows out your hair, this is the texture your hair grows in. You didn't put any perm in it to make it straight. You didn't put any texturizer in it to loosen, to I guess make you have that curly pattern. I don't know, the texturizers. Didn't do the jerry curls. This is your natural texture. That's what most people mean when they said, okay, this is my natural hair.
Okay, well, that's a much more clear definition. I agree. Now, Brittany says, whose fault is it if some black women want to fry their hair? She says, all that we, and I guess we as a natural person, she says, all we are saying is do not discriminate against us who are born with natural hair. If it's not natural, then it's something else. I disagree completely with fry hair. Like my hair is not fried. My hair is big.
I would hope, like, what I want is, like, whatever a woman decides to do to her hair, that she's not destroying, her hair or her scalp in the process. Like, I don't care. Like, I, want people to have, a full head of hair for as long as they can, right?
Yeah.
So, I guess I don't share. And I do get that there are, like, people feel pressured to look a certain way, and I think that is the problem, that people feel pressured to look a certain way. But if any one of us were to choose, like if Rayne were to choose to cut off her hair tomorrow and go natural, that's what she wants to do. And if somebody decided, to perm their hair tomorrow, okay, like that's what they want to do. There's a professor in my department who she had young, I think she's like late 30s, had locks, got hired with locks, which was a shock to me. I was like, oh, wow, that's, interesting. And then a year after, she cut it all off and permed her hair. And, like, I mean, I don't know that anybody said anything. I totally didn't recognize her anymore, because she just looked very different. It sort of speaks to, I think, the difference that your hair does for your face. But I mean, I don't know why people care so much. Like, make a choice because you like blue hair, you like your hair curly, or you like that look. And I think that's what we need to do, is cut all this societal pressure to look a specific way. And so it becomes more about a personal decision to do it.
Okay. I have another question. Dagny wants to know, why is beauty so important to women? Why do we constantly tell young girls that they're beautiful to empower them, but telling young men that they're handsome isn't a thing?
Isn't it though? Don't we tell young men that they're handsome?
To my knowledge, yeah. I've probably never done it, but so I think that men are called handsome all the time, handsome or fine or sexy and things like that. I guess it's not as women aren't. Well, that's because women aren't usually encouraged to approach men first to tell them these things, whereas men and women have no problems with approaching women to say, well, hey, I think that you're pretty, this, that, and the next. And you'll never see really a guy friend telling another guy, you're handsome or anything like this. So I think it's more society than anything else. It's not that, men aren't handsome or that they aren't told. It's just that people aren't free with telling them because, women shouldn't be that forward based on society's views.
Yeah. Plus, why is its beauty important? Beauty, I guess what is considered beauty, first of all, varies from person to person, although there is a general standard, I would say. But everyone wants beauty in their lives, in some form. Now, what I might be considered to be so beautiful, whether it's artwork, a man, a woman, whatever, I might just be saying, oh my God, you look so pretty, you look so beautiful. Another person might be like, really? That's what you find attractive? Really? You're drawn to that piece? Like for us, what we are drawn to the beauty that we see. So the beauty that we see and the beauty that we want in our lives, the beauty that we want to reflect, for us is important to, at least for me, let me say, it's important to kind of put out there the energy and put out what you want, and also the image of yourself. You don't want, because we are drawn to beauty, you don't want your image to be seen as not beautiful or as ugly, really. Like, you don't want that to be what comes off when people see you in the world, because nobody is drawn to ugly. Although what is ugly or beautiful varies, what I might be drawn to might be considered ugly by someone or by someone else. But for me, it's beauty. So for me, that is what I consider beautiful. So for someone to say, for you to feel ugly is a bad feeling. No one wants to feel ugly. Like, nobody feels that anyone is drawn to ugly. And humans aren't a solitary species.
I guess that could kind of lead me into Duran's question of, what is ugly? To me, it's subjective. I you said, you may look at someone and say, "Oh, this person is so gorgeous," and I may say, "Well, they're unattractive." I guess that's a better word than ugly. Um, and it depends on the person. It's from person to person. I don't think you'll rarely find, whereas someone is no one finds them attractive. In fact, I don't think that even exists. There's always someone that's going to find someone attractive, no matter how many people say that this person is unattractive.
And the thing is, I mean, the beauty doesn't always have to come from how you look, right? It can come from within. I mean, I may think that somebody is not as attractive, but they're not as attractive on the outside, but their personality and their positivity could, I mean, just supersede how they look. And to you understand? So it's not just how you look on the outside. It's kind of is. I mean, I guess like you say, Shama, people, beauty is different. Everybody kind of looks at it different. And what you think is beautiful, I may not think is beautiful. So, yeah.
Agreed. So I have one final question, and as you guys have seen in the group and in wherever on Facebook that this topic has come up, persons are asking, why is this such a big thing when we have bigger issues? What do you think are some of the bigger issues at hand that, also deserve some attention by Bahamians? What do you think that we should, kind of focus on as well? Like you guys say, we can focus on more than one issue at a time. What are some of the issues that are important to you that we need to focus on? For me, it's we have to get Perry Christie out. But what is it for you guys?
Education is
Well, for
major.
me,
Yeah.
yes,
I mean, that's
exactly.
like
For me,
the
what I'm always
beginning.
Education, what else?
no,
I'm
education is the main thing. I
Mhm.
feel like changing this education system we have, improving it. Every time I speak with someone or see this on Facebook, it's something that I feel needs to be done. Like, why one of the biggest like issues I have had is that okay, even if you speak with the government, when they said they were going to double education's budget and do all of these things and ended up taking from education instead, it's like what the hell? Education is one of the main things that we need like to focus on in this country. Not even if we disregard the D average, even if we say put it as secondary, we are look at the crime, and this usually stems. I won't lie, you won't find most highly educated people committing these things. Of course, it stems from poverty, but also a lack of knowledge, a lack of role models. Like, why aren't these things being really worked on, really?
An important issue for me too. Education is a big deal. I have a young child, and it's scary. I mean, I like his school, but it scares me. But another issue that is a really big deal to me is developing our local economy and providing opportunity for the Bahamians that already get swing and went out and got an education and come back and is like unemployed, underemployed, going hard in an industry that doesn't mean anything to them or doesn't interest them. And I think that that is a big deal. I think that I don't want to say that I don't understand our government's aversion to doing their part to ensure that Bahamians have all the tools necessary to be successful. But I think that that in itself, for the people who already did what they were supposed to do, I think boosting our local economy and getting rid of a lot of the red tape and exclusion, um, that needs to be addressed big time. To me, that's important to me.
Well, I agree. Education, also social services. I think that if we kind of get these two main areas or ministries in order, then we'll see, kind of a reduction in crime. If they would just allocate the resources to where they really are needed, and if we get honestly the right persons to kind of drive these initiatives, because it's not that we don't have the funds, it's that they're not being used as they should. We don't need a carnival. This money can be allocated to so many different things and have positive results. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So yes, for many persons, the natural hair or the ability to be able to wear hair in its natural state in school, is a huge issue. But like you guys agree to, there are other issues, and we can focus on all of them at the same time, and devote sufficient attention to them at the same time. Is there any other questions that you have, or anything else that you want to touch on before we let go?
I just want to say before we go, because you just said something just now that kind of stuck out to me. I don't think that the point should just be made that there are more issues that we can be addressing. My reality is every day I'm talking to this Bahamian or that Bahamian who's struggling with this or trying to get this or trying to get that. What the public needs to take accountability for is the support, not the advocation of anything that's going on in our country. You could Google anything. There are blogs, there are newspaper articles, radio shows, community activists. All of these people are raising these issues every day, all day, but the difference between them and Support the Puff is support for the puff. So all the time that everyone is taking to isolate people who simply made a public statement out of their personal frustration that snowballed into what it did, should be really considering is why you are not supporting the causes that are important to you, so that you can find whatever the medium or catalyst is that's going to snowball attention or action for causes that are important to you. That's the difference, not the issue, because we are talking about these things. But what are you backing up? What are you following up with? What do you support?
The thing is, okay, you support the puff. So basically, I can come out and say, I support that this girl should be able to wear her hair how it should be. And then what? I'm lending my support, but what is my support really doing that my advocation cannot do more of? Because I believe that, it's one thing to support. Yes, I can say, I support you 100%, but what am I doing to kind of help the cause along? Because most can say your support. Yeah. How are you showing your support other than making a post with the hashtag?
Right, and I think that if people want this to go further, there needs to be somebody to say, like, take action. Lobby MOE, lobby the government.
Yes.
When the next PTA meeting, have a discussion with the teachers and the principals, like keep this issue at the forefront, because like I said earlier, this is a sign of a bigger problem. And people can think it's just about the puff, or you can use it to sort of engage more parents or engage more people in general, and use it as a way to have a dialogue and make that dialogue consistent, because there are more problems than just how students wear their hair. So take this and use this to sort of push them to make changes that need to be made, and we can then drive the conversation to how do we go, okay, we've addressed how our students look, can we now address what they're learning or not learning, and how they're thinking and not thinking. This is sort of, it's opened the door, but I agree with you, Rayne, like if you don't sort of harness that, all these people who want to be slacktivists and just post a hashtag or post a photo, how do you get them to care more or care for longer and do more, even if that means like, putting up a form letter to be sent to the ministry and asking people to sign it and send it in, paper bonding, so that they know that people are serious and that this is more than just, a social media movement. You got to get the movement offline and into the real world so that there is action.
Exactly. And I think that that's following through with supporting the puff, because you're allowing the idea to grow and develop. You're learning what you have access to put pressure on whatever relevant authorities are responsible for addressing the problem. But we can't have that happen if we want to break down. One of the first times that we were able to come together on this is a new way that you get in all kind of people talking about it, and you get in their initial superficial support, but you have their attention. So I think, just like you said, Kandra, the value is in moving forward, but the support is continuing the movement as opposed to dissecting it before it is in any position to do anything valuable, and so that you can actually realize, okay, this is the start to the finish. We are doing a very typical thing of arguing over unimportant details instead of following through with the point. The point is to support the movement. It's not whether or not you care about natural hair, even if it's just to see for yourself. To me, this country is in perilous times. We should be trying anything, and it's just frustrating that the one, like, we had a good strike of something going, and we got some momentum going, and there's so many people focused on dismantling that and distracting it and criticizing it, and let it work. See if it works. You know what I mean? If you can't, if you think it's stupid on your own. But I don't see the value in taking the steam out of the train when you don't even have a train starting where it is that you're trying to go. So we're supposed to just stop our train because hair is stupid and then sit and fight about which thing we should do first. So that's what support the puff in itself means to me. It didn't get, at least locally, it didn't get to the point of just hair or student rights, or there are layers to it. But I think that the value behind supporting it is finishing something, man, seeing where it goes, learning your power, understanding something, and if we do it once, then you are able to get, because you know, Bahamians will wait for you to win before they really jump on your bandwagon. So this girl is winning and getting international support. Do not dismantle the campaign so we could be petty, as we usually are, and run on over stupidness. If you're trying to really change and you're looking for different avenues that do not involve your politicians, support something else. Like, it doesn't make sense to me to dismantle the entire thing because you personally think hair is stupid. It's not about you specifically. That's what I think. I mean, and I acknowledge everybody. I agree with what everybody said too before I move on. Okay.
Alrighty, so we've come to the end of our riveting discussion. I'm going to end by saying, you know, let's see where, if anywhere, the movement goes. Let's see if Bahamians stick with something for once, or if it's just going to die down. Let's see what happens. Thank you guys for participating in this panel. I'm sure, you know, persons are going to have more to say on this, and they'll continue to do so in the group. By all means, you guys should participate in that. Thank you, viewers, for sticking with us. We went very much so over time, but I think it was worth it. Everybody got to touch on things that were important in this discussion. So I guess until next time, thank you, ladies.
Thank you. This is fun.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Mhm.